So what I'd like to do now is show you how to set up animations. And again, two parts. One, we're going to rig and animate this guy. And then we're going to bring it in here and set it up so that we can have a looping animation. So you can have it, think about it as like, say this is just sort of an asset in the scene that, you know, a tree swaying or something like that, and you'll learn how to do some basic rigging. So this is sort of on your path to learning about character modeling, character rigging, and essentially, in my opinion, really a character is, it could be like Pixar's lamp or whatever. So character provides, it's really anything that provides emotion or movement that can add to the story. All right, so let's go back into Blender. And this is what our rig is going to look like at the end. So what I'm going to show you is how to dissect this rig. So I'm actually just going to save this. This is my trash bag rig. So let's break this apart. So actually I'm going to select my bag here and hit Alt P. Now you don't have to do this. What's it called? You don't have to do this part. This is really just to show you how to, let's make sure we're in object mode, how you could deselect or detach a skin from an object in case you needed to, because I'm not covering that right now. So what you do is you select the object that you want to essentially detach, and you hit Alt P and then you hit clear parent, and you could see it detached it from your armature. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this armature. So now what we have essentially is just the trash bag model that we made in the previous videos that's textured. And let's take a look at how we can create a rig for this object. So if you hit Shift A, you'll see you have all these options, and one of them is armature. So I'm going to click on armature, and with this bone selected in object mode, I'm going to go down here to this little running man guy. And what that is this has all of the information that pertains to this bone, the layer it's on, things like that. And I have entire videos on rigging in Blender and all that stuff if you need a background in that. Just check those out. Go to in front here, and what that does is that'll place your bone in front of the object. Now let's jump back up here to where we have our essentially our bones transform information. So if we look through here, we have more bone data, things like that. I'm actually going to hit tab, and I'm just going to go to edit mode. And what you'll find is you'll see a head, tail, and roll. Now the head has to do with wherever the initial creation of the bone was, which is down here. This is the head, and here's our tail. So what I'm going to do is just zero this out. This is really the direction in which it's pointing. And for it to work in Lumberyard, you need to go negative in the y-axis, because remember the y is essentially where we're pointing our up and down. Whereas in here, this is our Z, and we're going to export it out this way. Now, inside of edit mode, I want to create two more joints coming off of this. So in order to do that, you can see here's our armature, here's our pose. Inside of our armature here, you can see this is our bone. Now, this bone needs to be renamed root in order to work inside of Lumberyard. And then I'm going to hit E to extrude. And notice, oops, let's make sure we're here. E, there we go. It kind of goes all over the place when I hit E to extrude this. I'm just going to hit Z, so I'm extruding upward. This is going to be like my spine 1 bone. Then I'm going to hit E again, and then Z to extrude up on the Z axis. You know what? I'm going to go a little bit deeper in my animation this time. I'm going to throw another joint up here. Now, we want to make sure that everything is underneath the root, right? So notice that this root joint here, and here's root 3, and then here's root 1. This is connected to this root here, which is our big root, right? Now we really want to get 2 and 3 underneath here. So I'm going to select this root here, and then I'm going to control click that one. And I'm going to hit P. Oh, I'm going to hit Alt P. Let's see. Let's try this one more time. Control P. Let's see. Why aren't we parenting here? Let's see. Do we have to do this in object mode? Is that why? No, we should be, yeah, we should have to do it in edit mode. Let's see, maybe I'm not thinking. Here's the root. Here's a root 2. Oh, I'm in edit mode for the model. Let's do this again and hit tab. Out here, tab, and go to edit mode. There we go. Okay, so let's try this again. Have this selected. Out here, tab, edit mode. There we go. And here is, what is going on here? Let's select our armature and then go to edit mode. Is that what's, okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm really kind of wondering why it was working. Okay, we want this to be a child of this root, because right now if we go to pose mode, what happened is for some reason it didn't connect those, and we need those connected in order to work in Lumberyard. Sorry for the little bit longer of a description. So here's the root, and so I want this to be a child of this root. So I have them both selected. I'm holding control, and then we want, let's see, control P. Oh yes, control P, and then we want to make parent, but we don't want connect. We want to keep the offset. We don't want just connected, because what connecting will do, it'll connect it to the tail. We want it to hold that offset position. So control P, keep offset. And now when I go to pose mode, you can see I select this one, the entire rig follows it. All right, let's go back to object mode here. And what we're going to do is control click the armature here, and then I'm going to shift select our trash bag. And then I'm going to hit control P. And we're just going to do this with automatic weights. Again, when we go to model an entire character and rig it and all that good stuff, I'll show you how to paint weights. But for now, this is, again, pipeline at first. So I'm going to go ahead and hit with automatic weights. Now, when I select this and I hit tab and I go to pose mode, I can actually hit R and I can animate this. See that? If I select this joint here, I can animate the top part of the bag. So we'll do like a pretty cool animation. Now, a couple things we need to do. So there's some naming conventions within Lumberyard that need to be followed. And for one is, if this is an actor, that means something that has a joint-based system that's going to be animated, you have to put actor somewhere in the title. So if we go back to Lumberyard, you can see my initial trash bag here. It was called Trash Bag 01 Actor with a capital A. So back in Blender, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do File, Export, and then FBX. Now I'm going to throw this on the desktop because I tend to get better luck when I drag in something a little more complicated like an actor. So I'm going to actually name this Trash Bag 02 underscore actor. And I'm going to hit Export FBX. And before I do that, actually, I'm going to uncheck, I'm going to uncheck back animations because, A, this doesn't have any animations. And I like to keep one model as my actor, and then the other ones are subsequent animation files. And I just need to keep the bone data and the skinning data the same. So I think this looks pretty good. I don't necessarily have to do selected objects because I want to export everything in the scene. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hit Export FBX, and let's go ahead and shrink this down. I want to bring Lumberyard back up, and I want to get my, let's see, desktop. Let's go to my desktop here. It's getting kind of full of junk. I'm going to have to clean that out soon. But remember, we named it, actually, you know what? I exported it directly to the folder. All right, so with that said, let's see if it worked. I actually meant to export it to the desktop, but let's see. So I'm going to grab my Trash Bag 02 Actor FBX and drop it in my scene. You can see there it is. Looks pretty good. And we're going to do a different kind of animation on this one because this one, if we just kind of preview our animation in the scene. So let's, here's our 01 actor. It has its own sort of style of animation. Like you can see it just has that thing. We're going to do a little bit of some secondary animation where there's like overlapping and stuff. So we'll build on our animation skills. So I'm going to uncheck, let's see, I want to uncheck preview and editor. And we definitely want loop. And actually if you press play, you can see that it'll play the animation. I'll hit escape. And that's because we have on this guy, we have loop motion on. All right, so back to this one. Couple things, Trash Bag 02, which is down here. I'm actually going to right click on this and do, let's see, where is my, let me save this just to, because programs can crash. And let's do open in material editor. Hopefully, didn't crash, which is good. Notice that it didn't register the texture right away, and that's because if you remember in the last video, we renamed this to Trash Bag Plastic Material instead of just Material 001. And then inside of here, I'm just going to look for that diffuse texture, which it found the last texture I selected. And you could see it applied it here. And really, we could go in and create another one just for this so that you can see the difference, but I think that's okay for now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S here. And now let's jump back into Blender, and let's go ahead and select that joint, and then hit Tab and go over to Pose Mode. So let's go to Object here, and let's see, with our armature selected, Tab Pose Mode, and let's go and learn how to do some basic animations inside of Blender. All right, so what I'd like to do right off the bat is you'll see here there's like playback and there's keying. In this keying section, yours probably has nothing in here. What happens is if you click on this joint, so I want to key all of these joints, let's say this one, this whole joint chain, right? So I'm going to select all these keys, and if I hit I, that's the set of keyframe, you could see it asks you, well, what do you want to key? Do you want to key just the position, the rotation, the scale, location, rotation, and so forth? You can actually click inside this keying parameter here and select in here. And I don't necessarily need to do, well, let's do location, rotation, and scale. But we don't really need it for this model. But what the heck, let's actually add a little bit of that in there. So you'll notice in the summary here, there's nothing here because we haven't keyed anything. But what I can do is select this, and now when I press I, notice it set a key on this joint, right? So I'm actually going to undo that. And I didn't have to, it didn't bring up that whole menu, and that's because we have these here. So let's go ahead and let's do let's select both of these, and let's hit I here, and let's jump over to 90, and let's press I again. Now, if yours is set to like 240 or something here, mine is just kind of set to where I was originally animating to 90 because I wanted to see what the loop looks like. So my frame 0 and my frame 90 look about the same. All right, so on frame 10, I'm going to rotate this one. So I'm going to hit R to rotate. Just going to rotate that a little bit. And then maybe frame 15, it's going to be a slower animation because I'll have this one rotate. And then I will, on frame, I don't know, see it's here. On frame, let's say, I don't know, we'll do, maybe, let's say it returns to normal here. So we'll jump all the way to 40. It rotates over here, and then this will rotate this way. And then as it starts to go back, we'll let this have a little bit of a hang here. So as this goes down, as that starts to come back, I'll rotate this a little bit this way, and then we'll have that like snap early. So let's hit spacebar and see how that looks. So it's got a little bit of personality there. Not the greatest animation in the world. I mean, we could probably space these out. Now that we have our animation, let's go ahead and bring this into Lumberyard. So what I'm going to do here is go to File, and I'm going to go to Export, and let's select our FBX here. And what I've seen others do too is like, here's our trash bag 02 actor. We can just call this animation, and then I'll call this sway. So this is our sway animation. All right, I want to bake this animation out, and 1 and 1 is perfect. We don't need any of this, but keying all bones and all that good stuff, what it does is it selects any bones that aren't keyed and it locks the position, which we might have to get rid of if we're doing root motion, but that'll be more when we do character walk cycles. So with that said, I mean, let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to go ahead and hit Export FBX, and I'm going to jump back into Lumberyard. Now it's a really fast import, and you can see here's our sway file. Now what I can do is with our new trash bag that we dragged into our scene, which is this guy right here, you'll notice it automatically applied this actor to it. Well, in order to make our character have motion, we actually have to add a component, which is the simple motion component. And that's the component you saw me fiddling with here. And if I turn on loop motion, and I can actually select my animation motion here. So you could see it says trash bag 02 animation. Well, I want this animation here, which is this down here, and I'm going to hit OK. Now I can click preview in editor, and you can see there's our animation. And I can have multiple animations going. So I can select this one here, and let's turn on his animation too, or hers. Let's see, or its. Let's see, preview in editor. There we go. So now we learned essentially how to hit Z on this. We learned how to essentially animate inside of Blender and then bring it into Lumberyard.